Yesterday when you left, you should have had like a plan for what your book, your ebook, your website, whatever it is you're going to make. The goal was that you leave class with a plan in your head or hopefully in your notebook. Can you let me know right now how many of you are going to write or create an ebook? And how many of you are going to make a website? Now, in today's mini lesson, we're going to talk briefly about figuring out what to share and when to share. Okay? Because I think in another class, I said, how many people are going to do an ebook? And everybody put their hand up. And I kind of got the feeling that people thought making an ebook was simply copying and pasting their chapter book into iBooks Author or Google Slides and adding a few pictures and calling it an ebook. Right? But there's more to it than just moving text from one place to another. Right? So I'm going to show you. So for those of you that are doing an ebook, one of the reasons I think that's a good choice is because at the moment your information, your chapter books, right, your informational texts, they look the same. Right, Fred? I look at them, it's Google Docs, it's text, it's headings, it's pictures, it's captions. It looks the same, right? But when you switch to an ebook, you have many more options, okay, and choices regarding what your page looks like. So, of course, you have pictures and text, but now you get more color. You have sidebars. You can split your pages in half. You can have these things here. I don't know what this is called. It's a full page or double page picture of spacecraft, different things like this. All this stuff looks real nice in an ebook. Like that, there's more here. And all these things to think about when creating the actual page. And you can have pictures as the entire background. Okay? In addition to that, you're also revising the text, the content of your book. Okay, so you've got to make some changes here and there. Today you'll get some feedback from me on your information, your first book. Okay, so you'll get some feedback, you'll make some changes. Okay, so for those of you doing ebooks, I want you to consider the mentor text from yesterday and also the nonfiction texts we have in the room. You can consider these mentor texts as well. These have very good examples of interesting, creative ways of setting up pages. Okay? Now, if you're doing a website, or a presentation, one of the big problems or big challenges that students have difficulty overcoming is knowing what to put where and how much of it. So this is an example of a slide. Do you think this is a good slide in a presentation? Turn and talk. Tell your neighbor what's wrong with it. Lucas, what's the problem with this? Too much text, right? So if you are giving this presentation and this is on the on the screen behind you, the audience is going to read instead of listen to you, right? That's not what we want. What about this? This is a website. What's the problem here? Too dense, right? Too much information in one small space, right? So if we're creating a website, we got to think about how to use the space. Just like with an ebook, right? You're thinking about what the space is going to look like. So I want you to help me kind of brainstorm ways that I can build my Malala page, Malala site. So over here, okay, I'm going to call this my prototype. You know what a prototype is? What's a prototype? Prototype.
The first model of an object you make before you actually make it.
Prototype. So this isn't my final version of what my website will look like. It's prototype. It's the first one. So when I look at this now, imagine this is my page, right? This is my planning for my web page. Is the problem here similar to the problem here? Or this one? What do you think? Yes, right? There's too much information here in a small space. Right? So I'm going to read you one section just so you can get an idea of what's included here. It says, Malala is a hero in the fight for gender equality in education. Her plight began in the Swat Valley, where under the Taliban's rule, girls were denied education. She delivered her call for equality by blogging for the BBC about life under Taliban rule and the importance of girls and education. Her message inspired millions of other people, teens and adults, to join her plight and take action. Because of her fame, the Taliban tried to fatally shoot her. They only added to her fame. So I got some of these details, right? Explanations, some definitions. I have this right in here on my front page. What could I do instead? What changes could I make here to make the front page less crowded? What do you think? Can you turn and talk? Give each other a suggestion as if you were me. I'd say one thing you could do is this. Or maybe you could try this. Maybe this. Turn and talk. Give each other a suggestion. Okay, who's got a suggestion for me? Who's got a suggestion? What could I do instead of writing a paragraph on the front page or on the home page of my site? Who's got a suggestion? What's another way to present this information? Daniel?
Like shorten the paragraph and then like make like a 1 or 2 sentences important.
Okay, so maybe just the main points. And I have here, I've got hero, calls for equality in education, and she was shot, right? There was an attempt on her life. Okay, so let's imagine that we went through all these together. Right, and this is my prototype, and I make some changes, and I end up with this. Okay? So can you see some of the changes I made? So I got rid of those large chunks of text. Right, and here I have these arrows with the main points. Here I have the statistic. And so that statistic kind of sums up everything that's here. Right? Do you think I will just get rid of this? Where will it go in my site? Right, it'll go on another page. So you'll see here, girls being denied education. All those facts and specific details will go here. Right, so my reader clicks here or here, and then they get all the details about that. When they click here, they get the details about ways they can help. Okay? So just to recap, one of the issues we have is figuring out what to put where. What goes here right now in this spot? Right, either in your ebook, in your presentation, or on your site. Okay? So we need to understand that our informational text as a whole, right, they all do the same thing, but they just look different. Okay? So I told students today, like your home page is kind of like your lead. Right? Your informational text that you've written already, your lead that introduces the reader to the issue and the topic, that's like your front page, right? The home page of your site. Okay? It fulfills the same role. Right? It attracts the reader, brings them in, it lets them know what the topic is, what the issue is, and what the site will be about. Same kind of thing. So what I want you to do now, before you go back to your desks, is you make a prototype. I want you to, in your notebooks, sketch some plans for a website or your ebook or your presentation. Okay, a student in another class is making a video. It's going to have like a presentation and narrate on top of it. It's also an option. So in your notebook now, I want you to make a plan, because when you get back to your desk, you're going to start working. So what might your home page look like? What's the cover and the table of contents and the pages in your ebook? What will it look like? Make some plans now, right now. I want to see them. Could it look like this? I'm going to work with you, and then when they go back to their seats, we're going to work together. What did you do this morning? So you got Gmail set up? Do you know your emails? So I'm going to add you. I'm going to add you to Google Classroom. All right, so you've got about 35 minutes. And your goal is to get this prototype like this, get this plan in your book, and then start working. Try out some different programs. If you're doing an ebook, I highly suggest iBooks Author. It looks real nice. You can do lots of different cool things with that program. Yes? What? Yeah, you can get it at the App Store. If you're doing a site, people are using Wix and Google Sites, a few other ones that people have used. Okay, so go to your seats. I'll be around to work with each of you. And when you just find a seat, I just share with you. Okay?